Fishful Thinker is brought to you by Lowrance. Find, navigate, dominate. Sportsman's Warehouse. Gear up for unforgettable.
Let's say I'm going to a prairie pothole style lake, or I'm going to the river somewhere and I don't know anything else about it and I'm going jigging for trout. I'm probably going to grab a 2.5-inch tube jig. I got a couple of them right here, a couple different versions of them that I think are, very consistent. You could either throw a 2.5-inch power tube like that in a green or a brown color, very natural color. The new MaxScent tubes right this, the power bait MaxScent, these things kind of bridge the gap between gulp and power bait. Also been testing these since way pre-production. Trout absolutely love those things, but they're both available in 2.5-inch tube. Put an 1/8-ounce jig head in it and call it a day. You're gonna be in the ballpark to catch all kinds of trout. Some of you are still gonna think that's too big, but trust me, it is not. Look at this rainbow right here, guys. Holy smokes, let me get the net. That's a big old rainbow right there, guys. There we go, come on. Oh, buddy, that's a big rainbow. All right, guys, now when I'm looking at a Conservation Series Frayville net, that's what I want to look at in there. So let's give you guys a quick look. I got them unhooked. We'll give you a quick look and let this beast go. What a giant trout this is right here. How about that thing, guys? That's a big old rainbow right there. So we're gonna go ahead and get him put back, or her, as the case might be. And we'll hold her here and let her go. She's been in that Frayville for a few minutes. She'll get her wits about her. If I need a heavier weight, I'm for sure going to a tube jig. Let's say the wind's really blowing and I need a heavier weight. I'll go to a tube jig unless I have fish that are up in the water column, which is very common when it comes to trout. At that point, I'm going to a soft swim bait of some sort. This is a little Berkeley hollow belly, a 4-inch hollow belly, and as you can see, it's got a big boot tail on the end of that. This is going to swim. It's going to do this the whole time I retrieve it. And that's going to allow me to get away with a great big jig head because the resistance of the tail will create lift in the water. Your line's coming up at an angle. The resistance of that tail is going to create a ton of lift in the water. So I can get away with a 1/2-ounce jig head and still work this bait relatively slowly. If I put a 1/2-ounce jig head on a straight tail, that thing's pinned to the bottom no matter what you do with it. And that's not gonna work for you. So the swim bait body is a really good call when I wanna get a bait that's moving horizontally through the water column or the wind's really blowing. You got a situation where you got heavy current or heavy wind and you need to have something that you can work through the column. Got him? Here he is right here. Got him, there we go. That's a big one too, guys. That's a big one right there. That's a big one. Oh, this fish is a lot bigger than the others. In fact, I'm gonna give him a little bit of room on the drag. If this fish is not a lot bigger, I'm gonna be shocked. And did you see that, guys? Can we illustrate that any better than that?
All right, I'm come on this side of you this time.
Okay, he is foul hooked. So he's not as big as I thought. He's foul hooked, but that's okay. We're gonna take him anyway. He's gonna come in backwards, Dano. I told you, you can feel everything. I almost wonder if they're not batting it with their tail.
Everything. It might be.
No kidding, beautiful fish. That's a little cut bow right there. You can see the slashes under his chin. Easy, buddy, there you go. I don't need to drop him on the deck of the boat and hurt him. I think we've made some good adjustments, Dano.
Yeah, I think so too. It took us a good share of the day to figure it out, but
I think the thing that gets me going when it comes to fishing, guys, honestly, is figuring it out. Once I know how to catch them, I get bored in a hurry. For me, it's like, okay, well, how else can I catch them? Because that's a lot more fun in most cases, figuring it out for me. And I think at this point, we have found the adjustment we need. We got the little bait working. We got the retrieve we need. This is the little 3-inch paddle shad, the Gulp paddle shad. Basically, it's just a gulp minnow with a thumper tail on the end of it. It has fantastic action. Again, a good trick for walleyes. A lot of these techniques will work for walleyes as well. That little Gulp paddle shad on an 1/8 or 1/4 ounce jig head is a really good call as well.
Fishful Thinker is brought to you by Berkeley, your fish, our science. Abu Garcia, fish to win. Sportsman's Warehouse. Gear up for unforgettable.
You guys look at these two baits right here. One is a 3-inch power minnow on a 16th-ounce jig head. One is a 4-inch power minnow on an 1/8-ounce jig head. When am I picking? How am I picking? What's my decision point that's gonna allow me to choose this one versus this one? For me, more commonly than the size of the fish, it's the size of the water that I'm fishing in. So if I'm fishing a small creek
maybe even a mid-sized creek, or maybe I'm fishing a river that's very low. Instead of being up its normal flow levels, it's very low. Then I'll throw the smaller bait with the lighter jig head on it. But if I've got enough water to work with, enough water depth, enough room to make some casts, I'd rather throw the bigger bait, because unless you're different than most people, you want to catch the biggest trout in the river. Well, these are calories, so if you think about this in terms of dollar bills, this one's a $1 bill, this one's a $5 bill when it comes to a trout in terms of calories. Which one do you think he's going to move farther to pick up? So if I have the water column to move this, enough depth, maybe 2 to 6 feet of water, I'll probably throw something like this. If I've got a very slow, shallow, real clear water scenario, or a very calm scenario, then I'll throw one more like this. But as far as I'm concerned, the dictation point, which one dictates which over the other, is going to be the water, not the fish. Any size trout that you really want to catch will bite either one of those without any problem, I promise you.
Not that many guys really focus on really big stuff. You know, even the fly guys, there's so many of them are throwing egg patterns and little tiny nymphs, and I get it, they catch a ton of fish. I've got buddies that come up here, one by the name of Caleb Van Wagner, you guys might remember from early in Fishful Thinker seasons, I think maybe season 4 or something. He's been on the show a couple times. And Caleb comes up here and fishes big streamer flies and catches some of the biggest trout you've ever seen. So they're definitely doable in here, but most of the guys that we see are really focused on more traditional stuff. But I, on the other hand, will stick to less traditional stuff. All right, look at that fish. Holy smokes. Oh, buddy, look at the colors. I don't even care if that thing comes off at this point. What a gorgeous fish. Come here. Look at that thing. There you go, baby. There you go, there you go.
Now, if you're a crappie fisherman, you have a whole bunch of these in your box, I promise you. We've done shows with big custom marabou jigs. Troy Coburn and I went and have done a couple different shows with his big custom marabou jigs. This is a factory, off-the-shelf Johnson Beetleboo jig that is very, very available around the country, very inexpensive, and very effective at catching trout. Now you see I've got a white one with a pink head on it right here. That's something I'll probably throw around spawning trout. Not fish on beds per se, but during spawning season around trout where there's eggs in the river. It's just an attention getter. That just gives them a little bit of color to gravitate to. In lieu of that, I'm probably gonna throw a green one or a peachy colored one or a brown one, something like that. But again, this one's a 16th ounce. They're gonna be a 16th to a 1/4 ounce, same range, nothing changes there. These you can fish any way you want. You can hop them, you can drag them, you can retrieve them straight, you can just swing them in the current, you can do whatever you want with them, but they have their own action built in. So if you want to do nothing but just let a bait swing, it's hard to beat marabou because marabou breathes in the water, looks fantastic even sitting still in the water, and it's a little closer to the flies you're more comfortable with. If it would make you feel better, consider this a woolly bugger with no hackle on it, and it's the same thing. This is a very classic way to catch fish with a spinning rod, and almost nobody does. It's a little tiny barbless single hook on a 1/8 ounce jig tied by Troy Coburn. And basically, here's the deal, guys. I always let the fish tell me how to catch them. Well, I was crawling this thing on the bottom instead of hopping it, and I believe that one will count right there, bud. Let's take a look at this one. How about that for a rainbow? Oh my gosh, guys, you can keep him down in the water, let him make sure he can breathe good. So if you look at this in the water, or in my hand, well, this rainbow is in the water, it's got a trailing hook. You can see it's an egg hook in the back, and it's barbless on an 1/8 ounce jig. And I don't know if you can see it in the water here, but it breathes incredible in the water. And I'm just dragging it on the bottom. I'm literally just crawling in the sand, and I picked it up off the sand, and I let the fish right in front of me tell me how to catch them. Then I threw it to fish I couldn't see, and guys, that's about as pretty of a rainbow as they get right there. I mean, that's a nice fish. And now our boy Marty the Party's gonna let him go right here, and that guy is I think he's ready. That is a good looking rainbow right there, guys.